is up, everyone, and welcome to NJPW Puroresu Review. I am your Melball, and over here we got Andre. Welcome, Andre, and welcome to our inaugural and first ever NJPW review. How are you feeling today, man?
I'm having a blast. This tournament so far this year, it hasn't been the best tournament I've watched, but it's been far more consistent with higher level matches for me in this tournament this year.
No, I have to agree. I mean, for the COVID time, we did have, much like wrestling in general, we did suffer a little bit, especially over in Japan. But thankfully, this tournament seems to be kicking it up a little bit, step by step. We're building ourselves back up there, especially coming off of that Forbidden Door show, which really kind of almost acted as a introduction for the New Japan guys to North America here. I'm pretty stoked how that went. And now we got U.S. guys performing in the G1. We've got quite a treat being fans of professional wrestling right now.
Yeah, I think this year for new people, it's one of the bigger years for new people. You got Hanare, who's been in New Japan proper for a while. Then you got like Jonah and Tom Lawler come over. You have the return of Lance Archer. So it's been really nice to see an infusion of a few new talents, even though we still have some old talents that I could do without in this tournament. One, I've turned the corner on one of them this year, very much so. I've turned the corner on him, but two others that I'm just like three in reality. I really don't need to see in this tournament, but it's New Japan. They're going to keep using them, but yeah.
Hey, we got to have jobbers somewhere too, right?
Yeah, the only problem is they haven't been shopping.
No, that is very true. And that being said, let's get into our first topic here. We wanted to talk about some of our favorite matches of the G1 tournament so far. Andre, what's one of your picks?
So for me personally, one of the most surprising matches of the tournament for me, like that one that's I really, really enjoyed, but I didn't think didn't know if it was going to be that great of a match, and that was the Jeff Cobb versus Jonah match. Like two just big dudes, and like both are very athletic, but I watched Jonah versus Lance earlier on, and I watched Fale do some stuff, and I wasn't too sure, but then these two got in the ring, and by God, they have one of my it's top 10 match of the tournament for me so far. And these guys have like the athleticism in that match, where like Jonah's beating on Cobb. He comes back with a clothesline. He hits it so hard, he knocks Jonah down, but then goes flying. He goes rolling out of the ring from his own momentum. It's those kind of spots that really make me look at that they're like those guys and go, wow. Like I was impressed with both of them coming into the tournament, but both of them in this match, I was blown away. You can't ask for better. And then with Jonah picking up the win in that match, it really true. Like I think Cobb is set as a top end guy no matter what. Where Jonah, I think Jonah needed that win, being that he is he's very new to that audience. So having him dominate, especially a guy like Jeff Cobb, yes, that's a statement win.
And I know the match you are speaking of, from what I remember, there's not a lot of people who dwarf Jeff Cobb in the ring, but standing across the ring from Jonah, Cobb was looking a little tiny, looking a little small in comparison. No, I ask because I don't actually know. Is Jonah considered the leader of TMDK?
Honestly, I'm not sure that Shane Haste and Mikey Nichols were TM61 or TMDK a long time ago with Jonah, and then became TM61 in NXT. And since all them entering into the independent scene again, they reformed TMDK. I could kind of see him. He's their singles guy, where like Shane and Nichols are essentially their tag team, more or less, even though they still both do singles match. I would say yes. But
he is considered like the super heavyweight of the group, whereas like the tag team is the tag team. They typically aren't the leader.
For sure though. But for sure though, Bad Dude Tito is the lowest ranking member of the team.
Oh, 100%. And the only non-Australian member Kevin Kelly keeps reminding us of.
No hate on Bad Dude Tito though. I've really enjoyed him in the undercard tag matches I've watched him in. So,
and I gotta say, like, we went into this G1. I wasn't a very big fan of Jonah. I didn't really take in a lot of his character when he was with the WWE. I think it was Bronson Reed. I didn't really know a whole lot of his indie stuff beforehand. So when I did start seeing him on Impact and on Strong, I was kind of like, top dog, is he really though? But this G1, he definitely has kind of stepped up quite a bit. It's almost like he Yoshihashi does. It's like G1 Jonah showed up. And for me, I've been impressed. He's kind of won me over, although I will not call his finishing move anything other than Buzz Lightyear falling with style.
That torpedo, like, I wouldn't want to take it. That's 100%. Like, I wouldn't want to get him landing on me. I'm a big dude, and I wouldn't want him landing on me.
From a terminal velocity is going to hurt.
Yeah, and
someone the size of Jonah.
And to that point, him beating Cobb, his match with Okada was like bar none amazing, and the fact that he beat Okada and is now the block leader as of Wednesday, August 10th, my birthday. But he's now the block leader, and it gives him a real advantage that now Okada has to fight to win that block. Like, I never picked like Jonah to be at the top there, potential to win the block. Like, that could be a real out of left field choice for anybody, because I'd say maybe very few people pick Jonah to win the block.
100%. I was definitely not one of them.
No, me either.
Well, for myself moving forward, one of the matches that really sticks out in my mind, of course, being an LIJ mark myself, Shingo Takagi versus Will Osprey. Whenever those two collide, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just they have this just boundless creativity when the two of them actually get in the ring together, but they give us enough without giving us too much and holding on to stuff so that they know when they meet next time, it's not going to be the same cookie cutter match every single time. I can't tell you how much I popped when I saw in that match suddenly Shingo Takagi pop an Oz cutter. Shingo Takagi, an Oz cutter out of nowhere. And then suddenly Will Osprey is like saying, okay, F you. Here's a Last of the Dragon. My neighbors must have hated me, but I don't care because they have toddlers.
Wasn't Last of the Dragon. It was made in Japan, because
Made in Japan, right?
It was the Karma, otherwise known as Karma, right? Like, Yoshihashi's Karma. Because I remember Chris Charles or whoever was on the call went, "Made in England" when he hit it, and it was just like he called it on "Made in England." and when Takagi hit the cutter, they called it a Shingo cutter, he called it a Shingo cutter, not the anyway. It's happened a few times when guys in this tournament so far, when guys have hit other guys' moves. When Tarleton's on the call, he's called it the name but tweaked to the other person. Like, I love Chris Charlton for that. Yeah. I love Chris Charlton for that. I find his calls amazing. But Kevin Kelly,
brilliant.
Bar none.
The combined knowledge of Chris Charlton and Kevin Kelly on commentary not only helps uneducated wrestler fans who are just being introduced to the product understand what it is they're seeing, if there is any confusion, but also helps experienced people like yourself and myself even understand even more. I just love listening to them. It's such a treat. Although I do one day want to be able to actually understand what it is Milano Collection 18 is saying.
That's the one thing, like, having Chris there for when, like, a lot of Japanese guys are talking, but like the last, like, was it the last night Phantasma was on? I think it was just this morning's card. He was translating when people were talking. Like, it was like, oh, he knows Japanese perfect, and he was like, he wasn't getting the full conversations, but when he like say a phrase or something, he was translating, and it was just awesome to hear.
So is there anything else that's standing out to you so far, Andre, in this G1?
I have to give a shout out to the Will Osprey and David Finlay match. Like as much as I love that Will and Shingo match, I put that Osprey Finlay match at the top of my list. Because you have Finlay doing the best work of his life. Like I have never I've seen him wrestle, and he's always been a good wrestler, like good quality wrestling in tag team and the single stuff he's been doing this last year. But he's never shown the ability, because I don't think he's been put at that level. And now he's being put at the level, he's killing it. Like his and Juice match, amazing. But like to get in there with Osprey and to go at Osprey's level, it was phenomenal. Those two just the back, and then to have him beat Osprey in that match shows that New Japan is going to invest in. I think they're going to invest in Finlay. I don't think he's going to be world champion, but he's going to be leading that U.S. title, one of the leaders in that U.S. title division. Because like getting that win now gives him the match with Osprey, probably King of Pro Wrestling, or if they happen to do a show in the fall over here, like a big show, it could be there, but he's getting a shot. And just that match, I was just giddy and excited from beginning to end. And even with like legitimately one of my favorite wrestlers in the world, Will Osprey, losing, I was still happy at the end. I was like, this was so good. And I picked in we have a little pool going with some friends of ours. I picked Finlay to win. I was the only one in our pool to pick Finlay to win that match. As much as I love Osprey, I was like, Finlay might get that win, and I picked him, and I was right.
I mean, when you follow the typical New Japan, story that they like to do for all of their G1s, they like to have all of their shock and awe moments happen within those first 6 to 7 nights. They like to have their Cinderella story, and they like to have that one person suddenly like kick through to the very, very end who is like sucking at the beginning. So we have to really be looking at whoever's like struggling on those lists right now. Those are going to be the people who may suddenly come out of nowhere and win it, like My Choice Kenta, who's not been doing so good.
But I honestly expect the Kenta to have a better tournament than he currently is. Mm-hmm. But you like looking at the C block, it feels like they're building it for Naito. Mm-hmm. Like it feels like that's who they're building this for. But Sabre could easily win it. That's the thing. It's just I could see them begin like if the rumors of Naito are true, that he's getting close to retirement, and that he or a big step back in what he's going to do in wrestling. Mm-hmm. He's like 40 now, I think, or right around 40s, there.
Yeah, 43, 44.
And yeah, so older than like he's in his 40s. So it's like he's getting up there, and yeah, to keep performing at a higher level, like very few can do it. Like Ishii is a mystery to me on how he keeps going. But the fact that the rumor is Naito wants to step back in the next little while, maybe not right away, but I could see him winning and having Shingo win their side, because to me, that's the only true possible way of why you would go to that match. And I think fans want to see Shingo and Naito go at it. So I think I have a feeling that those are the two winners for that block, because they want to push that match.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I would like to see that match. That being said, let's use this to kind of segue into the next part of our conversation. Who are some of the people who we are really surprised at in their progress in the G1?
For me, one that, and this is, and you've talked his praises before, and I've always crapped on him, and for a long time, is Yoshihashi. I have never been a Yoshihashi fan. Even his Bishamon run with Goto, I just I couldn't get behind him. I have a whole new appreciation for Yoshihashi after this tournament. Like the way he stepped in there with some of the guys he's worked with, and I look forward, as long as we get this level of Yoshihashi going forward, I would love it. But again, he's a guy who's getting up there in ages, and can he sustain a G1 level? I don't expect him to perform at that level every night of the week, but like you come the big shows, can he perform like that? And I hope he can, because I have really gotten on the Yoshihashi train this year, and I was I picked against him in our pick'em pool, and I made some mistakes this year with him.
Yeah, I think it was like night one, match one happened, and I was like, oh no, I need to rethink all of my life choices. Yeah. I have to agree, Yoshihashi has been one of those guys, and as we mentioned at our Forbidden Door kind of pre-show that we did on Backbreaker Media, will G1 Yoshihashi show up, or will just regular Yoshihashi showed up? Well, G1 Yoshihashi finally showed up. The problem is G1 Yoshihashi only shows up during the G1. So, the run you had mentioned with Goto was also a run that I absolutely hated and felt was actually quite a detriment to the belts themselves. But then you show him in the G1, and it's like, wait, where were you a few months ago, sir, when we needed you? His matches with Finlay, but also his match with Juice, where he just took a good 5-minute beat down before he could even really start to get back into the match. To be able to come back and actually steal that win from Juice, I mean, how mad is Juice after that one? I don't think I've heard him drop so many F-bombs upon leaving a match.
That was a very surprising, because I picked Juice to win that, because it's like, again, before then, it was like, who thinks Yoshihashi is going to get more than 1 or 2 wins? And I picked them over like Yujiro and I don't remember who else I picked him over, but that was a very surprising win. And he's been like a very, most times I can't say Yoshihashi is a good surprise for me, but he's been a really good surprise for me in this tournament. Who for you has been a surprise so far?
To acknowledge is David Finlay. David Finlay was that one person who he keeps coming up every time he's kind of done something. I've popped again. My neighbors hate me. I don't care that I'm watching it at 2 a.m. If something outrageous happens, my neighbors are hearing about it.
Your neighbors are loud anyways, so
yeah, they got kids and they're good. The roll up that Finlay managed to get on Shingo, again, being an LIJ fan, that got a big what just happened? I was ready for that match to keep going. The energy that you had mentioned that he seems to have after his breakup with Juice Robinson, where he's suddenly become, I think the David Finlay that he's always wanted to kind of be, and maybe just hadn't found the right segue into it. I think that they have finally found that for him. I think you're absolutely right that they're going to start investing in him. But I also agree that he is not going to be a world champion. He doesn't have the look. He doesn't have the charisma. Realistically speaking, like you could almost be like, oh, he's like a CM Punk. Well, he's not quite that good either. So he's good, but he's not that.
I know you're not shitting on him, but he is really good. Like there's no, like he is quite good. It's just I don't see him at that top level.
Yeah, like absolutely.
Another title run, 100%. Another U.S. title run, 100%. Like he's going to be
KOPW championship. Why the heck not?
Okay, now that Shingo has risen that KOPW, yes. Have it been KOPW before? I'm like, that would have been a demotion in my eyes.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it, considering Shingo went from being IWGP World Heavyweight Champion to beating Yano. And Although I will say the matches that Shingo and Tai Chi did have that pinfall kind of where every mat hit was a point. I found those rules to be very exciting, made that match and that feud very fun and to watch. And I personally think, again, what you said is absolutely right. They elevated that championship from really nothing.
Like in my opinion, a championship shouldn't be used to elevate somebody. Somebody should be used to elevate a championship. But another big surprise for me of the tournament was night 15. I got to watch Zack Sabre Jr. face off against Evil. Now, Zack Sabre Jr. is one of my top 3 favorite wrestlers of release of the last 10 years. And I was not looking forward to this match because I'm like, oh, it's more Evil House of Torture crap.
A big Togo at ringside.
When Zack Sabre Jr. comes out, head down, hat on, you know something's up. They go to attack him, and it's Kosei Fujita. You're going, well, I thought it was going to be Taka, being, member of Suzuki Gun. And then Togo goes to the curtain, and he gets attacked. He gets his arm locked up by Sabre. And he attacks Evil. He gets him in the ring. They wrestle around. He counters pretty much everything Evil can do and hits him, it rolls him up in 44 seconds and beats Evil. That match immediately became not one of my top 10 matches of the tournament, but it became one of my favorite in my heart because of seeing Evil lose so quickly, a person I don't want to shit on all the time, but he's just not been enjoyable. And one of my favorites, just getting a quick win again, because I think he did it a year or two ago in the tournament, and I think he's done it in the New Japan Cup. And just those quick wins are awesome.
Yeah. That I think there was another match like that, I believe, involving Hiromu and Kushida, where Hiromu managed to roll up Kushida in less than 30 seconds.
Yeah, but when you get those, especially on that night, it ended up making for a very short card. We got that, I was just like, what? And I was just like, well, I'm good. I'm happy. 3.5 stars.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a mercy to not have to go through the Bullet Club shenanigans. And to be honest, I'm honestly surprised at this point that Bullet Club still claims them as affiliates of them. Because at this point, they've been kind of hooping everybody left, right, and center. And it doesn't really matter, if they're Bullet Club members or not. They're really, really hooping people over. They hooped over ELP. They hooped over Kenta. To be honest, I knew they were going to do the big screw job on Kenta. What I'm disappointed about is that Kenta didn't turn on them at that point. That would have been the perfect opportunity to have one of the, I wouldn't say leaders, but maybe lieutenants of Bullet Club to be like, no, F you, you're out, you're done. And ELP actually brought up a very good point. I think it was, don't remember what night it was. I want to say it was 13, maybe 12 or 13. None of the House of Torture members actually show any Bullet Club affiliation on them any longer at all.
It's just also House of Torture now.
It is all just House of Torture. However, according to ELP, I mean, who knows how factual that is. According to ELP, they still obviously get a cut from the royalties of the Bullet Club merchandise. So if that's the case, from a business perspective, I would want to be like, no, if you're getting royalties, you need to show it. Even if it's a teeny tiny little Bullet Club logo stuck to the outside of your panties, you need to be showing it if that's who you are and that's who's giving you money.
Don't make fun of Show's panties. Come on.
Right. That's Yo who likes the panties. And thank goodness he's been gone. But Sho has also become just as big of a problem at ringside as Togo in this tournament, as we've seen coming out quite frequently, turning out the lights.
He's Yujiro's Togo. He's done it 2 or 3 times, and like using the wrench and just making me enjoy matches less. Like I'm not a huge Yujiro fan. Like he's serviceable when he really, really tries, but when he does his antics, low blows, using show, and all this garbage, you just can't get into him.
I agree. It's become the Bullet Club shenanigans, and the shenanigans aren't fun anymore. In the beginning, it kind of made sense. Oh, a new heel faction. You know, Suzuki-gun had their own kind of level of shenanigans, but they weren't like this shenanigan-y, if that's even a
when
word.
they came time to wrestle, they wrestled.
Exactly, and I feel like Suzuki demanded that.
Yeah, you could use interference in points, but it wasn't every single match. 4 to 6 times a match, constantly using weapons. It's just, I'm tired of the formula. And again, that's down to the booking, but it's getting tiresome, and I just don't know how much more I want to watch. I'll still watch New Japan, but like, if this is happening in next year's Z1, I might just skip those matches altogether and just avoid watching, because
wouldn't you say? They're just not team here.
There's just not matches I want to watch. Like, it makes me not want to watch them, or makes me after go. Yeah.
They're reminiscent of an old team that we used to have here in the Indies. Hey, the Lineal Rebels.
But at least those guys are like all really good workers. So
2 of them are.
I thought so.
2 of them are. That being said, let's segue into our next topic here, Andre. Top performers of the tournament. Who do you think has really showed up and showed out? We've kind of talked about it, but who do you think has really been the top?
Like for the ones that aren't surprises, like Shingo Takagi, Will Osprey, like Okada, as always. You have the top guys in there. Naito's showing up, Kenta showing up. It's just, we haven't, like, they've all been really phenomenal, but nobody's had that 5-star match that we've seen in past years. And that's where, like, I look at Shingo versus Osprey, 2 guys that have shown up night after night. When I saw that, I've seen them have a 5-star classic, but it wasn't quite there. And I'm just wondering, are we going to see a 5-star classic in this tournament from these guys? Because you have some of the top names in this tournament. And like, I don't know who else can have a top end match with that, but I hope for more. And because these guys have been showing up, like again, like Will Ospreay and Sabre, 2 of my favorites. They keep showing up. They keep having good matches. And I have been like absolutely over the moon with those 2 this year, because like I've always been already fans. I'm already game for their matches, and I've yet to not enjoy a match that those guys have had so far.
Awesome. You know, one thing that I have noticed that neither one of us have mentioned, who I was actually quite big on the train with last year, is the Great O'Khan. The Great O'Khan has been making quite the name for himself, especially the last year, teaming with Jeff Cobb in the World Tag League. I believe he also teamed with Hanari for a little bit when he first joined United Empire.
I think so, yeah.
He was tag champions, IWGP tag champions with Jeff Cobb. We did sadly lose those to, was it the Revival or the
FTR?
FTR, is that what they're called now?
Yeah. Yes.
So much confusion.
You don't watch enough AEW.
And then, like, saving that child, he became like a national hero around there. So
yeah.
He has, and I have to say, his look has always been a favorite of mine. Part of what I do really love about Japanese wrestling is how They're not just generic looking wrestlers. Well, some of them can be, but not a lot of them are. And you have this character like the Great Okan, who's supposed to be a Mongolian death lord of some kind. He comes out with the hat and the getup and the face mask and the creepy movements. And I really
It seems like he's gotten rid of the face mask.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him wear a face mask.
As well as being
I'm happy without that weird question mark face mask. I can live without that part.
Hey, you know what though? It's unique marketing right there.
It is. But you can go too far, like a Master Watto, but you know.
No one wants to Master Watto. Just come out here staring at your hand.
Yeah.
But you know, the Great Okan has been one who he always does adapt, but unfortunately, you are right, he hasn't really stepped up to anything right now and had something in this tournament that made me go, ooh, wow. You know, I do recall a couple good spots with his match in Jay White. Jay White's another one who's just been steamrolling through everybody. I think, isn't he one of the only ones who's undefeated right now?
Yeah, I don't think he loses till the final. I predicted him to lose to Tama Tonga on the final night. We'll see what happens with that, but I don't see him losing till then. So because I don't see him going into the semifinals unbeaten, because I think him losing in that, and especially to Tama Tonga, they could set up maybe a title match at maybe the card over in England. Maybe it's the King of Pro Wrestling card. Maybe it's the November card. We don't know. But yeah.
I would like to see those two finally clash, because I don't feel that there has been a proper answer to the whole them being kicked out of Bullet Club and all that. But two, I don't think that there's been an answer in regards to what's happened with little big brother there, Hikuleo. Not that I want to see Hikuleo. I mean, whatever corner he's standing in, he can keep staying there. But, you know, I have interest in where the story with Bullet Club does kind of go. Because I do feel that this faction, as much as I enjoy it, it's one of those factions that's busting at the seams right now. There's too many people in this faction. I think that there needs to be like an official House of Torture split and maybe some issues worked out within them.
Like compared, like I think God moving out was a good thing, because I've really because was it last year Tama Tonga's whole change where he's like he's still Bullet Club heelish, but he's saying I'm not gonna cheat. I won't cheat in these matches, and I don't think he only cheated I think he only cheated like once. I think.
He was really good for that time where he said that he was going to be the good guy until they forced him to be the bad guy again.
Yeah, but I think him turning. I've really enjoyed Tama Tonga in this tournament. Like somebody I kind of forgot about for top performer. He's really kind of come out really good this year, I think, because his in-ring has just gotten better and better and better. And then he had a match just the other night. I think it was just last night 15 against Taichi, where Taichi brought out the Iron Fingers, and the whole build around like each one of them being drawn to the Iron Fingers, and then not wanting to put it on, but it's like, oh, do I and like not wanting to put it on, but like trying to resist the power. And just it was so much fun to see him, because if he was still the bad guy, he's just got to put that on and hit him. But it's seeing how he's evolved and how he's become the wrestler that he is what I really, really have liked about Tama Tonga in this tournament.
I have to agree. He's certainly been utilizing his time in the gym with Jackdo there. Jackdo looking jacked.
Oh, very much so.
So we should probably take this opportunity to segue into, I'm sure, the most exciting part of this talk here, where we're going to be chatting about someone who probably shouldn't be in the tournament next year.
Yeah. Bad Luck Fale can just I don't hate the guy. I really actually became a fan of him this past year, not for his in ring, but was it Lions Roar?
Lions Roar, yes.
Lions Roar, because like I have a passing friendship with Tony Kazina. We worked shows together, wrestling shows, and when he was talking about when he's posting about it in a bunch, I was like, oh, I gotta watch this for Tony, because I like Tony Kazina. And then you listen to Fale talk, and his story is amazing, his background is amazing. But then he comes in for this tournament, having not really worked in New Japan proper for a long time. Yeah, he's probably keeping the ring rust off, working with the guys down in New Zealand, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can tell that his stuff has gotten a lot slower, more plotting, and I think my personal opinion, nothing against Fale, use him for the undercard next year, but I think his spot could be better used to bring somebody over from America, or maybe because like they've had it on and off partnership with Noah. Maybe you get a guy in from Noah next year in that spot. I don't know, but it's just I don't want to say I hate you, but I don't want to see him wrestle I don't think he can wrestle at that level that's required for a G1 anymore.
I have to agree. I was in the same boat as you, where he wasn't really my favorite. Whenever you'd see him, I'd be like, oh, he's a damn general, Kevin, salute him. Go slip into Gino mode. But again, watching Lions Roar, you really do gain that kind of appreciation for what it is that he does for the business. And you realize that, when he does go into these tournaments, he's not expecting to win. He's expecting to be that guy who puts over other people and who makes other people look good. But that being said, you really do need to be keeping up with those people. And Fale, as we had mentioned before, he does tend to yo-yo up and down, particularly with his weight. Sometimes he's leaner than others. Sometimes he's heavier than others. Right now, it looks like we're on a bit of a heavier time than others. And bless him, he's trying. He's given all he can. But when you're carrying around that much weight, it does make it a lot harder to perform.
As a big man, I know what you mean.
And as a former big girl, I totally relate to how difficult it was for me to work then versus now. I couldn't see my toes, let alone begin to touch them. Now, if I need to, I can get right down there and paint my toenails, so the little bit of excess something somewhere really does begin to limit you. And I think with Fale, I think if he was a little bit down on his weight, that he probably would have a little bit more of an impressive G1. Because I'm thinking to his match with Archer, he did try to do some crazy kooky stuff, but just because he was so limited by his weight, it was a lot harder for him to get thrown, for example, or just simply go up for a suplex or something. So
it looked a lot sloppier.
He is someone who I like, but I don't necessarily need to see him anymore.
And he is 40 now, so he's at an age where taking the step out of the G1 isn't the worst thing, because especially like this was last year or 2020. I understand you need him because it's harder to get a lot of people over. He's regularly, so it's easy to get Fale into the country to do the tournament. Where things are opening back up, like it's far more open here than it is over in Japan. But things are opening back up in Japan. It's easier to get the foreign talent in, like showing with Archer, Lawler, Jonah coming over, Finley being there. It's showing that you can bring newer people in next year, and I think guys like Fale and as much as I like Yujiro's character, I don't want to see Yujiro wrestle anymore in this tournament because he again, he's getting older. Like I think he's around Naito's age because they were a tag team. They came up together.
Have you seen pictures of them when they were together as a tag team in CMLL?
Very much so.
Crazy jacked. Jacked.
And he was really good at one point, but he's gotten progressively worse these last bunch of years. That he's so much slower. You can see it when guys like the Finley match. When was Finley on night 1 or something. It was early on. I think it was Finley. But you watch how slow he plods when guys try to work around him who are quicker than him, and it's just you look at it and you go, I could do without this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I have to agree. It does look like he ends up sucking wind very, very quickly. And as a result, he just seems to just be standing there almost baffled a lot of the times.
Yeah, it's hard to see a guy like that when like it was Finley in night 3. It's hard to see a guy like that in there because you're like, this, like I couldn't keep up with it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a professional wrestler by any means, but when I look at it from a fan perspective, I look at it and go, I have trouble watching you. You're dragging matches down, and not like that he's bad. It's just, I
feel like he is probably getting to the Nagata Tenzon kind of Twilight area, I guess, where they're they're still going to be seeing in-ring time, but it's going to be to help put over or teach
work young lions, be the guy that gets pinned in an undercard match, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't need to see these guys be one of the main competitors in the grade 1 tournament, a tournament that's meant to say these are the best wrestlers in the world, come here to win, to earn the shot for Wrestle Kingdom. That's what this tournament was built for, to be to show you're the number 1 guy. When you see guys like Fale and Yujiro wrestling, you're like, are you really? Like, and like, Evil, I want him out of the tournament for other reasons, but that's just because I just don't enjoy the guy anymore. But he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But I could see them taking Yujiro and Fale out. We'll see next year, but yeah, that'll be a question for next year, essentially.
Oh goodness. Oh, the G1, we love you and we hate you at the same time.
I love it, and I get a little irked with it at the same time.
Hey, you know what though? I mean, at least we're having great quality matches that some of them are actually almost going to that 30-minute time limit. More often than not, we're seeing matches going over 20 minutes, except for, Evil and Zack Sabre Jr., which, realistically, I mean, that's probably
3.5 star to me. 3.5 star to me.
Hey, it was probably better than anything Hikuleo would have put on, let's be honest. And with that, I don't know if we have anything else we have left to talk about with the G1 up until this point, Andre. We've been having a great time so far. We've gotten a lot of topics in, but man, we're still in for the best of it in the next week. We've still got, just over a week now, don't we?
Yeah, it's a week from, we're recording this on Wednesday the 10th, so it's a week from tomorrow is the final night. Night 20, the finals, everything goes down. And we'll be back probably the next week or two to break down the finals for the G1. So, and I can't wait to kind of go over just to talk about how somebody they got to the semifinals is what I'm really most interested in, how these last few nights are going to break down, and we're going to see who gets into those spots.
Awesome. I'm excited. I can't wait for it, man. Well, if you have anything else to add, I'm going to say thanks for watching, everybody, for joining us for the NJPW Puroresu review. Had to slow that down because that's a tongue twister and a half. We'll be here.
Before we go, I just want to shout out. This will be on our page, Andre Melball Wrestling Talk, but it will also be reposted on Backbreaker up there, Backbreaker Video, and Mike, our great friend, is going to be gracious enough to give us a platform on his. You can also check him out on Twitter at Mike the Ref, on Twitch at Mike the Ref. Check out his streams. He gives great streams.
He does streams on all kinds of pro wrestling and gaming. You don't want to miss out on that.
Yeah.
Also, go check out his YouTube page. You check out the Forbidden Door page. You see Andre and Melball working together for the very first time.
Yeah, that's where kind of this was all inspired from. So check us out on the Forbidden Door preview show.
And with that, everyone, we'll say adios.